Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This public meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees is hereby called to order. Ms. Carolyn Shellman, who is our General Counsel, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Mackey?
Present.
Mr. Kelly?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Present.
Mayor Nuremberg? Chair Steen?
Present.
We do have a quorum, sir.
And we should tell everyone that the mayor is doing his COVID briefing, and hopefully will join us later. But first, we will have a brief safety message from Mr. Fred Bonnewell, Chief Security, Safety, and Gas Solutions Officer for CPS Energy.
Thank you, Chairman Steen, our Board of Trustees, and Paula Williams, our President and CEO. We are 1 week from the Thanksgiving holidays. We are working hard and safe as we continue to maintain operations 24/7 through the COVID-19 pandemic. We are thankful to serve our customers, and we deeply respect the vigilance of our 3,100 employees to work safe, who continue to respect our COVID-19 protocols. As Paula stated earlier today, we have 136 of our employees who have become infected with COVID-19 since the onset of the pandemic. This equates to an infection rate of 4.4% related to our overall total employee population. Even for Thanksgiving, we must adhere to the requirement to maintain gathering to less than 10 people. As we plan to share valuable time with our loved ones, we can still be together, but have to be aware of our surroundings. Precautions to consider would include, but not limited to, bring your own food and utensils, maintain separation and food prep, stay masked up, remain distant from each other, and eat outside if possible. Be aware the virus is still here around us. We continue to share ideas for working safe with local, state, and regional utility partners and our owner. As a member of our senior chief team, we are working hard to do everything in respect to our pillars of security, safety, environmental responsibility, resiliency, reliability, and customer affordability, all through our financial lens. Thank you for the opportunity to share this safety message, and remember, zero harm.
Thank you for that safety message, Mr. Bonnewell. And now I will ask our moderator, Ivan, to provide instructions for public input.
Thank you very much, Chair Steen. Good evening. My name is Ivan, the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. Thanks you for joining its November 16th Board Public Input Session by teleconference. The Board is always interested in hearing public input. Each person interested in speaking must have pre-registered today before 11 a.m. If you pre-registered to speak, please press 0 on your keypad now to be put in the queue. Again, please press 0 on your keypad now if you pre-registered to speak. A member of our staff will take your name. Mr. Jesse Hernandez will now provide a quick message about translation services.
Gracias por unirse a la sesión de opinión pública del 16 de noviembre de la Junta Directiva de CPS Energy. Si prefiere escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor cuelgue y marque al 1-888-400-9342. Una grabación de la reunión también estará disponible mañana en nuestro sitio web cpsenergy.com/opinión pública. Si se registró para proporcionar comentarios, por favor permanezca en la línea y presione 0 en su teclado ahora para ser puesto en fila. Un miembro de nuestro personal tomará su nombre y traducirá sus comentarios una vez que se proporcionen. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez. An American Sign Language interpreter can be viewed online for this input session at cpsenergy.com/listenlive. I will now turn the call back over to Chair Steen.
Again, this is John Steen, and I have the privilege of serving as the chair for the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome you to this public input session. We appreciate your participation in this process. To ensure everyone can participate, we're providing several ways to interact with us this evening. We're providing a toll-free number, a dial-in number for people to participate in both English and Spanish, as well as live streaming on our website with a sign language interpreter. Before we start, I'd like to introduce members of our board who've joined us today. First, Dr. Willis Mackey represents the Southeast Quadrant and currently serves as the Vice Chair of the Board and the Chair of the Operations Oversight Committee. He is a retired public school administrator and current consultant for school districts across the state. Dr. Mackey, would you like to say anything?
Yes. My name is Willis Mackey, and I welcome feedback and suggestions from our community. My personal commitment as a trustee, therefore, is to ensure that we hear diverse voices, that our leadership team remains accountable to all our customers, and that we manage to stay focused on making balanced decisions that thoughtfully move us to an increasingly clean energy future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mackey. Next, we have Ed Kelly, who represents the Northwest Quadrant and is our most tenured trustee. Mr. Kelly serves as the chair of both the Personnel and Nominations Committees. He served as president and CEO of USAA Real Estate before retiring in 2005 after 17 years of service. Trustee Kelly, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Chairman Steen. I appreciate the opportunity to have this opportunity to listen to the folks that support our products. So I'm looking forward to a productive evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And then we have Janie Gonzalez, who represents the Southwest Quadrant and is the newest member of our board. Trustee Gonzalez serves as the chair of the Technology and Innovation Committee. She is the president and CEO of Webhead, a company that specializes in providing cybersecurity solutions to clients across the nation. Trustee Gonzalez, would you like to say anything?
Thank you for that introduction. Everyone who's online on the phones, this is an opportunity to empower you and to integrate people from different backgrounds, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you again, all of you participating tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Mayor Nurnberg is not present at this point in the meeting. I mentioned this earlier, and that's because he's leading his daily COVID-19 call at this time. But he's an ex officio member of the board and is currently recording. I already said that. I would also like to introduce our CPS Energy senior chiefs who joined us today. We would begin with Ms. Paula Gold-Williams, our president and CEO, Dr. Chris Euchster, our chief operating officer, Mr. Rudy Garza, our interim chief customer engagement officer, Mr. Fred Bonewell, our chief security, safety, and gas solutions officer, Ms. Carolyn Shellman, our chief legal officer and general counsel, Ms. Vivian Bouillet, who's our chief information officer, and Mr. Gary Gold, who's our interim chief financial officer and treasurer. I'd also like to thank the members of our Citizens Advisory Committee for the valuable work they do. We call them the CAC. So our 15-member CAC is comprised of individuals throughout the greater San Antonio area. They meet monthly to consider major CPS Energy initiatives and provide a channel for two-way communication between the community and the utility. City of San Antonio council members nominate 10 of the 15 members, one representing each district. The other 5 are at-large candidates interviewed and nominated by the CAC. The CPS Energy Board of Trustees appoints all members to the CAC. Members can serve up to 3 two-year terms, and I want people to know that City Council appointees for District 1 and 2 are currently vacant, and contact the CAC for more information on how to apply. So let me mention the CAC members, who many of whom are joining us this evening. Mr. David Walter is currently the chair of the committee and is a member of at large. Other members of this very important committee include Ms. Luisa Caso, Chair-elect and Member-at-Large, Mr. Bill Day, Vice Chair and Member-at-Large, Ms. Diana Aguirre Martinez, District 3 Representative, Mr. Frank Gonzalez, District 4 Representative, Mr. Andy Castillo, District 5 Representative, Ms. Raquel Zapata, District 6 Representative, Dr. Adelta Cantu, District 7 Representative, Mr. John Kelly, District 8 Representative, Mr. Joe Yakubik, District 9 Representative, Ms. Allie Waters, District 10 Representative, Mayor Mary Dennis, Member-at-Large, and Ms. Mary Ellen Belize, Member-at-Large. This evening's public input session is another opportunity for you to share your thoughts with us. But first, Ms. Paula Goh-Williams, our President and CEO, will provide an overview of important topics facing our community and the utility industry. We'll then move to the public input portion of our meeting. So, Ms. Goh-Williams, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Steen, and thank you very much to the CPS Energy board members. I do know that the mayor is giving his update, but we did hear from him this afternoon. And foremost, I want to thank all of the participants on the phone call, all the members of our community, for making time to give our board and management tonight. It's a really critical opportunity we have. We've had public input for years. We think it really works, and we're at a time when we have a tremendous amount of things that we want to make sure the community knows, our initiatives, and we also want to hear back from you. So I thank you all for being here tonight. And I thank all of the CPS Energy employees. The one thing I do want to always say is that there are 3,100 dedicated employees. Frontline, everyone from frontline workers, our IBEW union, our NAPE union, our frontline employees that answer the phone, our energy advisors are just wonderful experts. They all have a heart for this community. We get to live and serve here. It is our honor and our pleasure to do it every single day. And then you have many, many members, from nurses to people who work in the warehouse to maintenance team members that do the fleet. There are just a tremendous amount of employees here who care so much about this community. And it's my pleasure to serve them, and it's my pleasure to serve you. So I do have some comments. As I explained earlier, this is my second presentation today. I pretty much go up to the wire for my presentation, so it's very conversational. I'm going to hit topics, and then tomorrow we'll post the slides out there with the audio, and that way anybody could see that, and we will also be able to mail the presentation to anyone that wants it. We have all different ways that people can actually get this information. But tonight I'm going to hit it topically. The board, just shortly before this meeting, they got the slides, the preliminary slides. There won't be that. I will talk about PDF slide numbers, but really and truly I'm going to make this about a conversation tonight. The presentation this evening is similar but not exact to what I talked about this afternoon. I think that we need to have some additional conversations about what we're doing for the community and for our customers. So that'll be the overall gist, but there are topics that are similar. Again, both presentations will be available to the public. So I am going to talk about COVID-19. It has had such a tremendous, unprecedented effect on everyone around the globe and very much our neighbors, families, and friends here in San Antonio. And it's affected our employees as well. So I will talk about that and how we've been managing through it. I will cover the value pillars. They are so important to how we try our best to make balanced decisions, to make sure that we're thinking about many considerations, important considerations, and how we focus on those. I will share how we're doing relative to our standard rates that we provide, our everyday rates. They're non-promotional rates because we give everyone the benefit of the cost savings. And I'll talk about that in comparison to the competitive markets. I will talk about our sustainability successes. I don't think we can talk enough about that. We did put out a report where that's also documented on our website, and we can mail that to anyone. And we think it's really important to talk about so many things that San Antonio has done, so many things that CPS Energy has committed to, and all the great progress we've made, as well as our commitment, as Vice Chair Dr. Mackey said, this focus on making sure that we're moving every day to cleaner energy sources, and as all our trustees expect us to do it in the most thoughtful way that we can, making progress day after day, year after year. I will talk a bit about the complexities that a utility actually has to focus on, and then I will also talk about the velocity of how we're moving and the challenges that we're going to keep managing so we can make more progress. For the board members, I am moving on to PDF slide number 4. So I circle back to the focus on COVID-19, the pandemic, the unprecedented pandemic, and the acknowledgement that we know that just about everybody's been affected in some way by this. We have always been focused on serving this community. When I became CEO, I thought so much about how much we have. We have billions of dollars in assets, but the real focal point is that we always have to look at things through the prism of putting people first. We have a business, Trinity, and that Trinity says always focus on your customers, always think about the things that they want and need, realize that we're a business that serves the community, and that our employees, our 3,100 employees, are dedicated to that. They are in learning mode, they are in contribution mode, they are in service mode all the time. So it's customers, community, employees, and we keep this in front of us. We are always focused on doing the right thing for people. Early on, I think we were monitoring COVID-19 from across the globe, and we do have a pandemic preparedness program that we've had for years, and we've watched multiple pandemics progress across the globe, but I don't think anyone saw the likes of COVID-19. And so early on in the year, we moved from being one of the first that were social distancing, and we had disinfectant and hand sanitizer everywhere, and we were doing elbow bumps, but by far that wasn't enough in terms of this particular episode that we were going, this era. Right away, I think there was just an initial conversation, but CPS Energy was one of the first utilities to say, this is big. We've got to take care of our employees. We've got to take care of our customers and the public. But we also realized that this was affecting how people worked, how people lived. And we didn't see everything coming, but we decided to go ahead and suspend disconnects. So we haven't done disconnects since the middle of March, and we will not start disconnects in 2020. Disconnect is a part of the service process, but again, we understand that we need to work with our customers, and we understand that we want San Antonio to come back stronger and figure out a way through this. So 2020, we will stand without reinstating disconnects. We also got the approval of the board and the council to waive late fees for those individuals who were able to contact, work with, put on payment plans, figure out how to be as flexible as possible. So as we work with individuals, members of our community, we are going to try all we can to make sure that we understand that it's difficult, and our point is to be here to be helpful. PDF number 5, we did certain things that needed to occur normally. So it still got hot in San Antonio. There were still demands for a lot of energy over the summer, and we kept the programs going where we were doing alerts to anyone who's on our program, and we have hundreds of thousands of people on our alert program, so we could talk about still the importance of saving energy. It is still really important for everyone in our community to think about saving energy. The more we can save, the less we consume, the lower the bills are. The bills are still being produced. We are just not doing disconnects. If we overconsume energy, that will make us overinvest and spend more money. So conservation was always important before pandemic, and it's still important today. PDF number 6, there has been some discussions about disconnects. Why do we do them? We've seen some increases in prior years. Why is that? We will also put this information out on our website. The one thing that a utility or any business can do is to continue to improve its processes, continue to incorporate innovation and technology. Something we did early on and hit a great stride in the 2013 time frame is we automated our meters. We went from analog meters to digital meters. Digital meters are more accurate. You can be more efficient. You don't have to send people to homes to do any processes. You can actually disconnect remotely, and you can reconnect remotely. So what we saw from the time frame from 2015 to 2018 was an increase because the process got much more efficient and it was automated. There was no policy change. There was no focus on trying to cut people off more. It was just the accuracy of having new technology. And we had, over that time period from 2013 to 2019, we saw the population grow about 10%. So all of that kind of accumulated into more disconnects. I will say we hit about a peak of, we went from 42,000 disconnects in 2013 to in 2018, we had almost 100,000. So there was an increase. But if you look at 2019, it almost got cut in half. So it went down to 53,000 disconnects, again, because we were thinking more about, well, what can we do and how can we be helpful? I will say that in 2020, we obviously won't get very high at all, again, because we cut the disconnects process in March. So those are factual bits of information that we want to make sure that everyone has. On slide 7, PDF slide number 7, but we also realized that our number, anyone can call us at 210-353-2222. 210-353-2222. We are not like most entities. We tell our energy advisors, don't try to get people off the phone, try to help. And we actually go for longer calls than shorter calls, but because, again, we're from this community. I was born and raised in San Antonio. So my mother made those same phone calls to the energy company, to the water company, to all of the companies around San Antonio. So I understand that. And for us, it's important that we serve and we connect. But something we started in 2020, realizing that many people were affected in terms of jobs and livelihood and businesses, what we decided to do is start our first outbound call process. So we started calling customers ourselves and we're asking multiple things. How are you doing? Do you know about the programs that we have? Do you know about the programs that United Way has? Do you know about the programs and assistance that's coming from the city? We can't actually qualify for CARES funds, but we can connect customers with our owner, connect customers with Bexar County. Those areas have had a good infusion of resources. So we spent our time making outbound calls, and that was one of the most rewarding processes that we ever had. We had multiple energy advisors who loved making those phone calls to be helpful. Those were things that we do and we continue to do. We haven't stopped. If you look at PDF number 8, we have made 37,000 calls. I mean, considering that we didn't make any outbound calls last year, we've added 37 outbound calls to customers. And from those, we were able to actually contact and talk to about 56%, or 21,000 customers we've talked to. And of those, we've been able to work with about 49% of the total customers and get them on some type of program, late fee waiver, other types of community assistance. And we're just going to keep this up because, again, it's not over. We all know that we're facing COVID issues today. We know that there's a bit of an uptick across the nation. We're not out of this, and we're just going to have to work together, and CPS is here for you. CPS Energy is here to be helpful so that we can all get through this time frame. PDF number 9, I did want to share with you. I mean, we've done fairly well. As Fred Bonniwell mentioned at the beginning during the safety message, we have been affected. Our ratio is below 5% in terms of total infection rates. About 130, almost not quite 140 employees have had the infection. We do have quite a few people in quarantine, about 113. We have 4 in the hospital we are currently praying for. And so, again, we see these same effects with our team members, and accordingly, we've re-engineered our processes. We try our best to always make sure that we keep our distance. We're in the field. We redid everything. Fred Bonniwell and I actually did a video for our employees to talk about how to be very, very careful, keep your distance, only go in the home when you need to, make sure that you wear your mask at all times and your other PPE. We re-engineered those processes, again, to keep you, our customers, as safe as possible. So that's kind of the view from the pandemic perspective. When we go to PDF number 10, I want to tell you about our value pillars. CPS Energy has pillars that we're always thinking about. How do we make sure that we're doing the right thing for the community and keeping everything in balance? And I think Trustee Kelly talked about that a bit earlier, like make sure that we're thinking about the balance of the activities that we do. And so we had 6 primary pillars: reliability, customer affordability, security, safety, environmental responsibility, and resiliency. Resiliency is how fast can we restore power, like if there was someone hit the pole and took the line down, or technology that we put in. But all of those things are important. I will tell you that we have surveyed many of your peers in the community, and over again, of all of those, which are sitting on top of making sure that we keep the company stable, of all of this, over and over again, the 2 that are rated the highest on consistently are reliability and affordability. Now, it doesn't mean that people don't think safety is extremely important or environmental responsibility. I think what we understand is customers tell us, think about improving the environment, think about keeping everything safe, secure, and resilient, but do it while you make sure that my service is reliable and that my bills don't get shocking to me, that they don't just shoot up and then we can't control it. So that said, every single major initiative and strategy we put through these 6 pillars. Now, I'm going to go on to PDF number 11. Again, relative to reliability and customer affordability, the reason why those are important is because if a utility does not pay attention to that, you can actually end up with the opposite results. In other words, if you can't keep your systems reliable, they can be blackouts in San Antonio, blackouts of power across Texas. It's all one big grid. We're not disconnected from anywhere else on the market, on the Texas ERCOT market. We're all connected. So every operator has to do their part to keep power flowing. So we do all we can to prevent blackouts on the reliability side, and we do all we can to keep bills from escalating too fast. And what can happen if you're not careful and you're not watching your costs, and you're not watching the timing of your initiatives, and you're not being really careful, you can cause extreme bill shock. Not the shock you normally see when your bills go up because the summer's hot, just shock because there's too much going on at the utility and too many things happening at the exact same time, and it could make San Antonio one of the most expensive markets in the nation, the state or the nation. So again, the 2 big things we think about as table stakes, as the minimum price to make sure that we get the honor to serve you, is reliability to prevent blackouts and customer affordability to prevent bill shock. PDF number 12, along those lines, we've thought about, how best to do that. In addition to the pillars, in 2017, I thought about what do we need to do. We can't solve problems the way we always did. There will be no construction of additional coal plants. We're not looking at any large nuclear investments. None of those are the right things for the community. What we need to do is we need to be flexible. So I worked with the staff quite a bit, and ultimately the concept was clear to me. We need to stay flexible and be on a flexible path to get to new and better and cleaner solutions. We need to be open. We can't just do the same thing we did before. Every major decision needs to be thinking about what's our options, what's the best thing we can do in terms of driving cleaner air, cleaner environment. So we focus on that, and that's the reliability aspect. And then on the customer affordability aspect, I just want to highlight we haven't had a rate increase in 6 years. We've only done one in the last 10 years. And we've been very thoughtful. So the point is we understand customer affordability matters to you. So we haven't done any base rate increases except for one, and that was 6 years ago. And because we know that we need to be frugal, we need to make sure that we put in those new digital meters because it makes us more efficient, but it helps us keep the costs down. And keeping the costs down keeps your bills down. And then we also make sure that the generation that we have lots of different types of generation, but the generation we have is enough to cover everything San Antonio needs, and then we contribute to the needs of the state. And when we sell out to what we call the competitive markets, any dollar we get from another customer outside of San Antonio is a dollar that doesn't have to be spent by anyone in San Antonio. So we keep it all balanced. And we also make sure that we don't do all one type of energy over another. We keep it very diversified, and we make sure that we have more than enough for San Antonio. And those have been things that have served our community well. PDF number 13, we will put this specifically out on the website. We just want to make sure that everyone knows. If you look at our bills on average, trailing 12 months, our stats show that we've been about $141 on average a month on the utility bill, when you average every single month out. But there are markets in San Antonio, particularly in the competitive markets. So in comparison to our $141 bill, there are some that are $151 a month, $156 a month, $160 a month, and $163 a month. And so we pay attention to what's happening all around the nation and all around the state because, again, we know that affordability matters to San Antonio. But I would say that we also drive value. If you compare us, San Antonio, to the other major markets in Texas, because we've gotten feedback from the public, from you, that it's important to you that we put more effort on energy efficiency and conservation programs. So inside your bill, there's about a $4 spend on energy efficiency and conservation. We call it the STEP program. In some other markets, it doesn't register. Additionally, we spend almost $10 on renewables today. We have 1,000 megawatts of wind. We've been in wind for 20 years. 20 years. We've been involved in the wind industry for 20 years, and we made a sizable investment, over 600 megawatts of solar back in the 2012 timeframe. So when you look at all of the renewables that we put on there, we actually are meeting the standards faster than most major markets in the nation, most major markets in Texas. So if you look at our bill, right now it's lower because we're managing and controlling costs, but we're putting a whole lot back into the programs that we've heard from customers that we need to provide to San Antonio. Something that's popped up a couple of times, people have said, well, what about the different components of the bill? Why is it one thing for businesses and another thing for individuals? And why is the per unit number is lower than residents? The per unit number is lower just because efficiency. So, for example, if you go to the grocery store and you buy a big box of Tide, usually the price of a cup of detergent is cheaper than if you bought a small box of detergent. That's all that's happening here. And the components, even though we move them around and we look forward to making some additional changes, it's a zero-sum game. The total cost are the total cost, and then we allocate it. What is true, which is absolutely true, today, residential customers only pay about 95% of their cost of us to serve them. And businesses pay 107%. the point is they are already paying a premium because they want to reward residents. They want to reward their employees. They want to reward you. So businesses are already paying a premium of about 7%, while all the other residential customers are getting a discount about 5%. PDF number 15. And so somebody says, but still that per unit thing bothers me. What does that mean? Well, like I talked about earlier, if the average bill over a 12-month period is about $141, for businesses on average, all businesses, they're paying about 10 times more of that a month, all businesses. So if a customer is $141, a business is $1,508. So in comparison to $140 to $1,500, they are paying more dollars. There's much fewer of them. We don't have a lot of business accounts. There's fewer of them, but they're paying the premium again to help residents already. So that said, I just want to make sure that we do talk about we are committed to a cleaner environment. We are committed to making changes. Oftentimes people will say, well, CPS Energy didn't do this and didn't do that. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that we did do that is absolute part of our history and is factual. Again, we've been in wind since 2000. We've been into solar since 2012. That's 1,000 megawatts of wind and about 600 megawatts of solar and growing. We put our flexible path out there that's been absolutely applauded by many in the industry because it's creative, because it's open, because it's flexible, it's collaborative, and it invites people in to come with us so we can make this journey together. We closed 2 older coal units in 2018. We refocused on the flexible path and highlighted that the flexible path will get us to 80% reduction in our emissions profile by 2040. And then our board, they went ahead and endorsed the cap, which says we will be tied to the Paris Accord, which really talks about decarbonization and net neutrality by 2050. That's a global standard. Can we do better? We will always be working with the city and this community to see what we can do better. But these are good achievements so far. And we have one of the most successful energy efficiency and conservation programs in the nation, award-winning. We won a national award working with our customers, working with you, making sure that we're being very effective. And we've saved about the size of a power plant. We would have built another power plant except for we all did our part and participated in one way or another in the STEP program. Some customers, everybody pays in, and then others go and look at weatherization. They get rebates for solar. They get solar host. Different types of programs are available to anyone who wants to, and we all put in money together. Ultimately, I want to just focus. The flexible path is extremely important, and it's again a part of the way that we did great so far through 2020, and that we're going to look to making improvements in 2020 and beyond, much further beyond. So I'm actually going to move on to slide 18. The point is we already have all of these plans in process. Some of the comments is just close and walk away. These power plants do belong to you. They belong to the community through the city of San Antonio. That is true. But that would be like you saying, I don't want my home anymore. I'm just going to walk out and leave it there. I still got a loan. I still got credit. I still got a place I need to have a place to take care of my family, but I'm just going to walk away. Or I've got a car. I don't want it anymore. I'm going to leave it on the side of the road. And what happens, they fine you. There are penalties and all these things. There's still costs associated with these. And again, these have to be maintained and taken care of. Can we move from these into other solutions? Absolutely. And we're ready to do that. PDF number 19, what I want to highlight again, when you look at the report, you have the ability to look at it. We've been on this decline, this putting in more renewables, putting in more wind and solar. We ultimately closed a lot of coal, like half our production in coal. Nuclear is non-emitting. We still have that. We have an increasingly cleaner and cleaner profile, but we're not done yet, and we're committed to partnering with the community to make sure we get better. PDF number 20, but I got to highlight, We are already number one in solar in San Antonio. I'm going to say that again. People act like that's not a thing. It's a real thing. San Antonio, is number one in Texas. Number one in solar in Texas. Number 5 in the nation. We also are part of Texas. Texas is number one state in wind. And again, we have an award-winning program associated with energy efficiency and conservation. The focus on CPS Energy in San Antonio is interesting. It's as if we're doing nothing, when in fact we're leading. There are many, again, around the nation and the globe that are very interested in what San Antonio has done already and very interested in helping us move forward. The positivity that we actually get from many outside of San Antonio is tremendous because we do have proven results and we are really making progress already. PDF number 21, we also, as part of our flexible path, we started this year this initiative. We actually want to add another 900 megawatts of solar. We want to add about 50 megawatts of storage, and that's because right now it's fast responding, but it doesn't last a long time. And then we want 500 megawatts of firming capacity. We were concerned, but we put out a request for information. We put it out in 10 languages, and we're focused on innovation. What's out there? What can really be done? And so we got a very exciting response. I'm going to move to PDF 22. We went out in those 10 languages, and we got responses from 10 different countries around the globe. A lot of it came from the United States. A good portion of it came from Texas. That's great. But we also saw, other countries from around the globe that are telling us what really can be done. Where are we in innovation? What really is available to us? There's a lot of stuff in development. Not everything is proven. And I will say renewables is pretty cheap, particularly solar. You can get it cheaply and you can add it. But we need to make sure for you that we are very careful with it, because when the sun doesn't shine, you're not getting solar power. PDF number 23, and that's the point. In reliability, to have solar energy, not to have the sun, but to have solar energy, you don't get it if the sun doesn't shine. To have wind energy, you need it to blow strongly. So those are the things that inherently are limitations in wind and solar. Even though they're clean, they're not always able to produce all the time. And then you have to, again, think about everything we do. If it's more STEP, more energy efficiency, more conservation, close coal units, close gas units, whatever you do, it still costs money to replace, to add. You don't get a chance to stop paying your bondholders. Just like you still have a mortgage on your house or a note on your car, those things still need to be taken care of as you look for those solutions. So it is about how we make choices together and how we can collaborate instead of having conflict. What can we do working together to make it all better for San Antonio and San Antonio's future? PDF number 26, that said, just like you get a credit rating from Experian or some other credit rating agency, and that helps you keep your costs down, that keeps you from having high interest rates. We have credit rating companies, and they make sure that we get the cheapest cost of money, and that when we need to go buy certain types of new energy, for example, and we invest in it, we pay low rates. Well, the credit rating agencies are paying attention, and I'll tell you a couple things that they've said. They believe that we have a great model. They believe in that flexible path is a great way for the community, for us all to work together, but they have concerns. Part of it is because we haven't done a rate increase in a long time, and now we have COVID, and now we have to think about how everyone's going to manage through it and what will happen if the company is challenged and needs a rate increase. We're losing money this year, and it looks like we're going to lose money next year. We're not going to do a rate increase this year, so once again, we're going to come through, but eventually a rate case will be needed. And as soon as we know that, whenever that is, we will come forward with our business case. But they have a concern about that. But they did cite, specifically, they did not cite that they were concerned about the flexible path and not moving faster. That was not what they cited, but they cited that the recent way that San Antonio is in its mode, and I'm quoting here, the recent petition that was opposing our governance and the management structure, paraphrasing, and the utility, that is all focused on credit negatives, things that are very hard to manage. And it was more like this was a tipping point overall. Now, at CPS Energy, we take no political positions. We don't take anything for or against. I'm just stating how others outside the community have looked at what we've needed to do, what we're having to face and manage through. Again, I think for us, when we talk to the rating agencies, there is concern. Again, we have made progress. We have been award-winning. We are number one. We've got a great strategy. We're willing to talk to everyone. We're working through all the issues. And for San Antonio to not be able to figure this out is not a credit positive. It's a credit negative. We still say we're ready to talk to everyone. Sometimes people won't sit down and talk to us, or they refuse. They might have talked to us in the past, and now they don't want to talk to us. But we still stand ready to talk to anybody. We want to make sure that our customers are taken care of. We want to make sure that we keep our costs down. We want to make sure we're finding the right solutions. We want to listen to everyone, and then we put together and try to do the best we can to keep all those pillars in balance. So, PD, I'm going to fly through this a little bit more so we can get to the public comment. So the point, though, is you can't do it all and you can't do it all at once. And just like you buy your home over decades, we have to think about investments that we make over decades and how can we blend our tried and true solutions with new ones, but be very, very careful, because if we don't get the timing right, again, we could end up with much higher bills because we want to move faster, but it's going to affect everyone's affordability. So we have to be careful. And then when you'll see this in PDF slide number 28, what will happen is the low bills that we have today in comparison to the competitive markets will start to eke up. If you want to triple the size of energy efficiency and conservation, we did a back of the napkin estimate. That's $7 more a month, just automatically. So you start moving up. And then if you want to do that and close the coal plants, you're talking 7 plus 12, about another $12 a month. And that's $20 a month more, $140 more a year. And these are rough estimates. We haven't gotten into them because, again, we're trying to keep everything going for COVID, trying to make sure that we're talking about what's really happening with some old plants and other things that we have. We're doing the best we can. But the fact of the matter is everything costs money. And so the matter is, when the community wants to figure out what to do, we've got to do this together, and we want to do this with you. We are so excited, again, I'm on PDF number 29, almost done here, that you are out tonight and you're giving us the opportunity to continue to share information and mostly to hear from you. Please also know that we do surveys. You can write us letters. We have board meetings with public input. Our Citizen Advisory Committee, they are connected to our community, both every district with the city of San Antonio, but also with the suburban cities and with the different counties. And so we have representation from all over. The names were provided to you by our chair. Everyone at CPS Energy, everyone who's in an official capacity of being on a committee, being in management, we want to hear from you. We even have a discussion about a rate advisory committee. The one thing I'll say about that is CPS Energy does not print money. CPS Energy does not get an infusion of money from the federal government. We can't participate in tax credits. There is no pot of money where this comes from. The money is when you pay us, we reinvest it back in the community. We make sure that we keep the costs down. We make sure we're managing what's happening. So any money that comes out or any money that people want us to spend, it's a zero-sum game. It's like a balloon. You squeeze one in, the other side's got to get bigger. You squeeze the other in, the other side has to get bigger. The rate advisory committee, though, if that actually gets approved, can help us look at it. Is there any improvement that we can make? Are there any new things we can look at and get input from many, many people? So the board is contemplating it. I think there's going to be a vote on that coming up very shortly. But the real point is that we're just excited to get input from any means necessary and continue to be open to it. I thank you all for being CPS Energy customers. I thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the time to talk. I can't hear anything, sir. Are you there, Chair Steve?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, sir. I am done with my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Go-Williams. This is John Steen again. Now I'll explain the guidelines we'll use for this evening's public input session. As a reminder, each person interested in speaking must have pre-registered today between 9 and 11 a.m. We have 44 attendees signed up to speak, and the maximum time limit per speaker will be 2 minutes. When you hear Ivan say your name, your line will open, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. You will hear a chime sound to indicate you have 10 seconds remaining to speak. After the allotted time is expired, the speaker will have 5 seconds to wrap up your comments. Then your line will close so you can continue to listen to the meeting. Ivan will call the speaker's name 2 times. If there's no response, that person will forfeit their opportunity to speak, and the next speaker will be called. After Ivan calls the current speaker's name, he'll also call the name of the next registered speaker. All speakers are asked to introduce themselves to the board, state their organization if applicable, and the city and state in which they reside. Please note that this meeting is scheduled to end at 8:30 p.m. If for any reason you don't get the opportunity to convey all of your input or prefer not to speak, you may put your thoughts in writing and send to CPS Energy, Attention Public Input, 500 McCullough, San Antonio, Texas, 78215, or email us at feedback@cpsenergy.com. Now, Ivan will invite the registered speakers so we may hear your comments. Ivan, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair Steen. The first speaker is Jesus Garcia, followed by Dr. Terry Burns. Jesus will speak in Spanish, and then his comments will be translated in English after he's done. Jesus, go ahead. You're our first caller.
Thank you. My name is Jesus B. Garcia. I am a CPS Energy and ratepayer, and I reside in the Great Northwest neighborhood in San Antonio area, City Council District 6. I signed the CPS Energy recall petition because I care about the environment and I also care about CPS Energy rates. The Spruce Cove power plant should have already been shut down. It is wasting money and is polluting our air quality. We could be producing cleaner energy if CPS Energy would listen more to the residents. We want clean energy and we are willing to invest in it. Secondly, the CPS Energy rates should be fair. CPS Energy considering a rate increase in the next year. However, homeowners are currently paying more for our energy than commercial energy users. This is not fair, and CPS Energy needs to do something about it before considering raising rates. These are the reasons I signed the CPS Energy recall petition, and I hope we will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is Dr. Terry Burns, followed by Tom Long. Terry Burns, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Terry Burns, San Antonio, chair of the Chair Club locally. Your self-appointing board dates back to segregation and redlining and was used for decades to deny service to poor parts of our city. You protect the rich and powerful, and your CEO recently chaired their chamber.
Richard Perez is your vocal defender because the chambers greatly benefit from this unjust status quo. These are the groups that denied our workers paid sick leave. Even before COVID, you were turning power off to tens of thousands of our poorest. You are required to know nothing about the energy business. Just in the last decade, you lost $400 million in misguided nuclear investment and wasted $1 billion in forcing Spruce 2 on a resistant community. Your pillars are stuck in the past and are a threat to our survival. CEO update today totally misrepresents the situation we live in and promotes the status quo. You should look at the plans Austin has for the next few years. They have public input in generation planning and rate structures and no board. They are light years ahead of you. It's time for you and your CEO to go. You have failed to act as our fiduciaries. Los Angeles pays 1/3 as much for management of both its utilities. Chris Tomlinson in the Express News says CEO pay correlates inversely with performance. And, quote, no one on those boards is looking out for the average worker or ratepayer. You obstruct progress and need to resign. Thank you.
The next speaker is Tom Long, followed by Michael Romeo. Tom, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Tom Long. I am a CPS Energy customer. I'm also the Chief Development Officer for the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation. It's a pleasure to be with you. EDF represents 165 organizations committed to economic development in San Antonio, as well as partners throughout the region and throughout the CPS Energy service territory. CPS Energy is an integral part of our region's economic development value proposition. Reliability, affordability, and customer service can be a game changer when large corporations are looking to relocate here or to making a decision to stay and expand in San Antonio. CPS Energy has always been willing to cooperate, and we've enjoyed our partnership with them since our inception. Companies, as Paula said, need reliability, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. CPS Energy has that reputation with our prospects and companies of providing reliable electric service and providing programs that help companies manage their energy usage. In other words, helping them become more efficient users of electricity. CPS Energy has also been a partner in our SA Works workforce development programs, preparing our youth for jobs of the future and mentoring hundreds of San Antonio students each year. We applaud CPS Energy for its flexible path that will bring cleaner energy and new energy solutions for our growing community while remaining affordable and reliable. We look forward to seeing the results of the upcoming Flex Power bundle that will signal to the world that San Antonio is open for business. On behalf of our 165 members, San Antonio Economic Development thanks CPS Energy for their dedicated work and to improve the quality of life and quality of life.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. The next speaker is Michael Romeo, followed by Steve Graham. Michael, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you to the board, the CPS executive team, and most of all, thank you to the community for showing up and being engaged. There's an informed community here, and it's great to see the participation. As stated, my name is Michael Romeo. I am one of the vice presidents of Clear Results, based here in Texas. It's Clear Results' mission to change how people use energy. And we do that by providing strategic design and implementation assistance for utilities as they transition to the utility of the future. Clear Result currently works with close to 300 electrical and gas utilities, implementing somewhere around 900 energy efficiency and demand response programs across North America. We've been incredibly honored to be partnered with CPS Energy in their efficiency and demand side efforts. In all our years of learning, we have learned that the lowest cost kilowatt is the one that does not need to be generated. From these nationwide experiences, we know that CPS Energy is a standout among other utilities across the United States, but more specifically here in Texas, in its support of customers in their conservation and energy efficiency efforts, in both comprehensiveness of programs being offered as well as the level of incentives being offered. Even with the challenges that 2020 has presented us as a nation, as a state, and local community, CPS Energy has worked hard to be able to continue to deliver and offer efficiency and savings programs. CPS Energy continues to demonstrate its commitment to materially moving the needle on the lower cost resource in its fleet first. It's been a privilege for Clear Result for the last 4 or 5 years to be partnered directly with CPS in bringing market transformation, energy efficiency programs, and demand response programs.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. The next speaker will be Stephen Graham, followed by Alice Contestero Garcia. Steve.
Hello, my name is Steve Graham. I'm the interim general manager at the San Antonio River Authority. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I want to talk about the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. Our board in February of 2019 passed a letter of support of the CAP plan, as did CPS Energy. We, like CPS Energy, really want to focus on sustainability. We're fortunate that we have a community with utilities like SAWS and CPS Energy that have that focus. The plan has about 125 objectives. Many of the objectives are complex and costly, but probably 30% of them are much more pragmatic and not as controversial. There's many like sustainable land planning, carbon sequestration, implementing SA Tomorrow, setting up a regional climate council, creating a resilient building code, heat island effects, climate resiliency education are all things that can be done pretty readily with our expertise in our community. Two general statements. As the CAP objectives are looked at, obviously cost is an issue, but so are benefits. And we believe that economic, social, and environmental benefits and costs should be all looked at. It really speaks to the CPS Energy 6 pillars. They speak to triple bottom line, which is what I'm talking about here. The other general comment would be prototyping and testing effectiveness of different ideas is worth doing. Benchmarking is a great example of this. Try small and grow it larger. But in general, the San Antonio River Authority stands ready to partner with other governmental entities to prototype, test these different mitigation and adaptation strategies. Thank you.
The next speaker is Alice Contestero Garcia, followed by Aaron Perensky.
Good evening. My name is Alice Contestero Garcia from District 1. Since 2010, I've been meeting quarterly as an environmental stakeholder with CPS Energy leadership. My handout is the petition for energy democracy. This morning, the mayor called for teamwork. That's exactly what the Recall CPS petition is all about. I played a small role as we developed the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan over the years. Our goal was to be a team with CPS to see our plans put into effect throughout CPS. So it was shocking this morning when I heard Paula Gold-Williams say that there were people who would not walk through the door to work with her. I wondered, who is Paula talking about? Clearly, there's been a misunderstanding. Let's clear this up. The community has 5 best practices. Make environmental protection a top priority. There's not that much that needs to be done to do this. Decide what kind of power generation is used in San Antonio. Certainly the city people who need to have, input into that, and I would recommend geothermal as considered an excellent source of energy for us. The wealthy people here have it. It's time for it to be throughout the city for everybody. I believe that this is already in the works. Form an advisory committee that will give input on rate structure for bill payers. I believe that's the RAC. Let's see it in action. Oops. Create a plan to close the CPS coal power plant by 2030 and make the mayor, city council directly accountable for CPS Energy.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. The next speaker is Aaron Perensky, followed by Leo Gomez.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Parensky. I'm a consultant civil engineer with Kimley Horn, and I currently serve as the chairperson for the CPS Energy Development Process Task Force on behalf of the Real Estate Council of San Antonio. I live in San Antonio, and I am a CPS customer myself. Based on a recent market analysis, the local real estate industry employs over 133,000 people in the San Antonio area and has a payroll of $6.7 billion each year. Most of our industry as a whole is in the middle of reevaluating so many aspects of our businesses given the current pandemic situation. During this time, it will be even more critical to our industry for us to maintain an open line of communication with CPS. Gas and electric service is a significant cost and time factor in almost all real estate development projects, as well as long-term operating costs. And that applies to the entire spectrum of real estate assets, from a very sophisticated development of a large manufacturing facility, for example, all the way to individual single-family homes. A clear line of communication and collaboration between CPS and the professionals of the real estate industry allows those professionals to develop and redevelop new projects in a more streamlined and efficient manner. That increases the activity within this industry that provides so many local jobs, and that also directly increases the ability for our industry to deliver more affordable housing for San Antonio area residents. Lastly, I would like to recommend to my fellow San Antonio area residents to look up the book Powering a City. This is a great resource that lays out the history of CPS Energy and does a great job of explaining the how and the why things are the way they are, with how CPS is set up and how CPS is operated. We are very fortunate to have the current structure in place as it exists today, with CPS Energy providing such a large annual benefit to the city's budget. On behalf of the Real Estate Council of San Antonio, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. The next caller is Leo Gomez, followed by Adrian Cox. Go ahead, Leo.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, CEO Gold Williams, and CPS team. My name is Leo Gomez, and I am the president and CEO of the Brooks Development Authority, responsible for developing, redeveloping the former Air Force Base here in Southeast San Antonio. This evening, I wanted to take the time to thank you for a few items, and I actually have a request, but I'd like to start by thanking you for your key account team. It's been a fabulous opportunity to build a good, strong working relationship day in, day out between your team and our team at Brooks. The communication has been fantastic, and I just want to let you all know that it's incredibly appreciated. It's that kind of that has led to the establishment of Mission Solar at Brooks, thanks to CPS and its investment in what Mission Solar produces here at the Brooks campus. To this day, it's the only Texas-based manufacturer of solar panels, and we're really proud of that. Not only U.S.-made, but Texas-made, San Antonio-made, and Brooks-made. So we're very happy to have Mission Solar and their couple of hundred jobs that they have and the few hundred that they will have in the future. So again, thank you for that investment in the past and your continued efforts with Mission Solar. Next, I'd like to thank you for your help in helping us realize the dream of building the largest sous vide plant in the world in Cuisine Solutions. You helped us make sure that we could get a gas line from 2.5 miles away to this plant parcel that will create 550 plus jobs here in Brooks, benefiting the surrounding region. They have already indicated an interest of adding a second and will have even more employees. Right across the street from them is a 350,000 square foot facility that will bring 600 plus jobs. My request is that we keep working together to make sure we bring.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Adrian Cox, followed by Christy Sutterfield. Adrian, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Steen, trustees, Mrs. Gold-Williams. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts with you today. My name is Adrian Cox. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Port San Antonio. Port San Antonio has over 13 million square feet of property spread across our 1,900-acre campus, and we're home to some of the leading global industries such as aerospace, defense, global logistics, manufacturing, cybersecurity, and education. Over 80 of our tenant customers employ more than 14,000 people at our unique air, rail, and highway served property, and together they generate over $5 billion in annual economic impact for our region. As a leading technology and innovation campus, it is imperative that we can continue to provide resources to our customers that will allow them to support and grow their businesses. Our partnership with CPS allows us to accomplish this masterfully. We're proud to work with such an amazing team at CPS. Some of those team members specifically assigned to Port San Antonio and our customers are Yvonne Haker, Ricardo Renteria, Kara Hill, and Carmen Nelson, and let me tell you, they are pretty darn amazing. They work with us to both service our existing customers as well as to strategize on how we can best be prepared for our future customers. They are always engaged, always available, and their level of customer service is top-notch and very much appreciated. So thank you for working with us, thank you for your partnership, and thank you for allowing me this time.
The next speaker is Christy Sutterfield, followed by Trey Jacobson. Christy, go ahead.
Good evening, Chairman, trustees, Paula, CPS team, colleagues, and the public. My name is Christy Sutterfield. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater San Antonio Builders Association. We have 800-plus member companies, and we represent 10,000 people in the residential construction industry. I'd like to take just this opportunity to thank Paula, you and your team for working with us this past year during the pandemic. It's been a challenging year, but every challenge that we've had in building new homes and delivering, a safe, affordable place for our community to live has been met head on, and we always take it as an opportunity. The residential construction industry, we had a call with the city of San Antonio. They had the best month that they had in October than they've had in 12 to 15 years. And while every day is a new day, and we appreciate what CPS has done with their portal, what they've done with their partnership with us, and the availability that you have to the builders and developers and remodelers, we are very, very grateful. And I just thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight, and we look forward to the future.
Our next speaker is Trey Jacobson, followed by Julie Novak. Trey, go ahead.
Hi, members of the board, Paula, and to the CPS staff, good evening. My name is Trey Jacobson. I'm a local consultant, and I'm also proud to serve as the co-chair for the Urban Land Institute's Energy Task Force. And ULI represents the best of what San Antonio provides for building a better city. And I'm fortunate to have a broad and deep understanding of CPS Energy. So time is short, so let me leave you with just two key messages tonight. First, I want to thank you for your leadership and your personal efforts to make sure that CPS Energy is an integral part of this community and for constantly looking for ways that you can do things better. Through the Energy Task Force and my work, I've had the opportunity to work closely with your team, and I can tell you your staff is outstanding, it is professional, and it is earnest in their efforts to improve how to engage with the customers, design professionals, and businesses. And this is not an easy job. In fact, it's damn complicated when you consider that you have to have electrical engineers to make things work smoothly day in and day out. My second point, my input, if you will, is I want you to move forward and move deliberately. The CPS Energy team runs the largest municipal gas and electric utility in America, but it also runs one of the most innovative and celebrated utilities as well. You've already mentioned you're a state and national leader, and we are blessed in San Antonio in so many ways to have you as our city-owned utility. Already for 75 years, you've powered San Antonio, and you know what you are doing. And it is my hope that after this input session, the leadership of CPS Energy, the board, will decisively begin to move forward into the future. Move forward. But you also have to bring this community along with you, clearly. CPS Energy cannot solve all of our local problems, but you surely need to be part of the solution. So my message is keep up the good work and have a blessed holiday season. Thank you all.
Our next speaker is Julie Novak, followed by Tamara Benavides. Julie, go ahead.
Thank you to the CPS Board of Trustees for allowing us this opportunity. My name is Julie Novak. I am the Chief Financial Officer at Fort Sam Houston School District. We are an independent school district and one of 3 in the state of Texas and only 7 in the United States where our district boundaries are coterminous with the military installation. We serve approximately 1,500 students and have over 300 employees. We were the first school district to collaborate with CPS Energy with the Demand Response Program, and we have appreciated the professionalism of the staff, including Yvonne Hacker and Brooke Liddell. Since our participation began, we have received rebates totaling over $300,000. This has enabled us to further improve our HVAC and building control systems, and I hope that this program continues as we serve our military students here in Military City, USA. Again, we appreciate the professionalism of all of the staff that we have worked with CPS Energy. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tamara Benavides, followed by Tim Morrow. Tamara, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Benavides, and I am the chairman of the board for the San Antonio Hotel and Lodging Association. The San Antonio Hotel and Lodging Association represents nearly 300 businesses from the hospitality community in our city, including all hotel properties with more than 100 rooms as part of the Tourism Public Improvement District. Prior to the pandemic, the hospitality industry employed 1 in 7 workers in San Antonio and contributed $213 million in taxes and other revenue to the city of San Antonio, $16 million of which was CPS-related revenue. It is no secret that the travel and tourism industry has been one of the hardest hit by the coronavirus, and we continue to suffer greatly from its lasting effects. As the situation endures, we are increasingly concerned about the survival of many of our lodging operators through this unprecedented period of travel and gathering restrictions. Most hotels are operating at less than 40%, and revenue is sporadic and unreliable, mainly coinciding with weekend leisure travel. This trend is likely to continue for the next several months with the return of business travel and unknown and no scheduled events through the end of the year. Current forecasts do not predict to return to 2019 revenue levels until 2023 or 2024. In the past, the state comptroller has agreed to provide up to 90 days for hotels to remit future state hotel tax remittances without penalties and interest, and for many of our lodging operators who function on a very lean cash flow basis that has allowed them the flexibility to keep their doors open and their staff employed. As we continue to navigate the financial impact of the pandemic, the hospitality community would greatly benefit from a similar flexibility in remittance of energy costs. We thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about the challenges our industry is facing, and
thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Tim Morrow, followed by Howard Rogers. Tim, go ahead. Tim Morrow, go ahead, please. Okay.
Good evening.
We'll move to our next speaker, Howard Rogers, followed by Patrick Garcia. Howard, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Howard Rogers. I represent the San Antonio Manufacturers Association, who represents the interest of right at 1,500 manufacturers with 5,100 employees, 51,000 employees that bring $40 million plus a year into our local economy. We look to CPS Energy to provide what I call Paula's pillars. That is safe and dependable energy supplies, reasonable prices, environmental responsibility, resilience. And when we look at rates, we have, for almost 50 years now, we have worked with them to have rates that are fair, equitable to all class of customers, that reflect cost of service to those various classes, and the fact that no customer class should subsidize another. In no case should CPS be used as a welfare agency. That works directly contrary to conservation. It gives something away that is valuable to us as electricity. Trustee Ed Kelly reminds us that CPS already contributes $1 million a day to the city. That could be used for welfare, perhaps, but CPS customers are being maneuvered, or the CPS organization being maneuvered by some in a direction that they are clearly not going to go. It is with unproven, unreliable, expensive energy systems that we look at and ask, can you show us one that works? Or do you want us to copy California with its ultra-high utility charges and its blackouts? In any case, the utility community looks to CPS as being far ahead when it comes to the principles we discussed. They're great. We love them.
The next speaker is Pat Garcia, followed by Richard Perez. Patrick, go ahead.
Yes, the board of directors and Paula Gold and her staff, thank you for the opportunity. I am president of Division Laundry and Cleaners, which is an 81-year-old family Hispanic business owned by the Garcia family. We've been buying energy since 1939 from the west side in San Antonio. We have prospered because of reliable energy. I can remember that being part of the San Antonio Manufacturers Energy Committee when I was 26 years old, and as of today, I'm still on the committee. And what I have seen is everything that Mr. Howard Rogers had reflected. But when, we're not West Texas where sunlight and wind prevail, and they have storage capability issues and reliability issues. We understand that. We understand that there is a purpose for all of that and a place and time. I applaud Paula Gold Williams and her team for being very insightful of all the predominant issues around the country. They had an RFP that went global around the world to come in with ideas that will give flexible path, and the whole team at CPS in our community a new source of energy called clean energy. I applaud the testimonials today, and I think that we live in a great city. I've been part of this city for for almost 81 years, but I'm not 81 years old. But I will tell you that the reliability has been wonderful. We supply laundry service to almost 50% of the hospitals in San Antonio and in Austin. And having reliable service, we operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. That's a necessity. It's not a luxury. And I applaud CPS for all of their efforts. And to the board of directors, I applaud you for making great decisions, allowing CPS to have tremendous success related to bonds, outstanding bond ratings across the board, and staff.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Richard Perez, followed by Tim Morrow. Richard, go ahead. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Chairman Steen and members of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. My name is Richard Perez, and I am the president of the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. The CPS Energy Board of Trustees is a model of open and honest governance made up of San Antonio citizens and our mayor that work in the best interests of our community. CPS is run by a competent CEO and a team of professionals focused on customer affordability, reliability, environmental responsibility, resiliency, security, and safety. San Antonio stands united in our support for our trusted utility and will protect it from the so-called decapitation of the authority of the Board of Trustees and management. In this time of COVID, with so much business turmoil, high unemployment, and the fear of the long-term effects of the pandemic on our health and on our families, it is the community's belief that now is not the time for a sweeping change in the governance of CPS sought by the petition. The unintended consequences are real, with the October announcement by Fitch downgrading their outlook for CPS Energy from stable to negative, specifically citing the petition drive. We cannot deny the negative consequences of this foolish petition and the disastrous effects it will have on rates, which are the lowest of any large city in Texas. I will close with a word about the false statements by a small group of environmentalists driving the petition. They claim CPS Energy has no commitment to the environment. The fact is, the Utilities Board of Trustees closed 2 coal units in 2018. The same small group of misguided environmentalists continues to harangue CPS for a lack of commitment to energy, to clean energy. Our citizens know that CPS Energy ranks first in Texas and 5th in the nation for solar energy, and they also know that CPS Energy ranks 2nd in Texas for wind energy. San Antonians know better and are united in our efforts to protect our well-run utilities. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tim Morrow, followed by Martin Gutierrez. Mr. Morrow was cut off earlier from a technical glitch, so he has his 2 minutes now. Go ahead, Mr. Morrow.
Good evening. My name is Tim Morrow, CEO, San Antonio Zoo, and on behalf of our over 700 employees, 600 volunteers, and millions of visitors, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and our partnership with CPS. San Antonio Zoological Society operates San Antonio Zoo, Center for Conservation and Research, the Train in Brackridge Park, Starbucks in Brackridge Park, Kitty Park, and the Will Smith Zoo School, the largest nature-based preschool in the country. At the core of everything we do, we are focused on conservation and education. In fact, our school was recently awarded LEED Platinum. It's the first preschool in the United States and 2nd on the planet with this designation. San Antonio Zoo is 106 years old. It is a 501c3 nonprofit hosting nearly 1.2 million visitors per year. We're privately operated and self-funded, and we depend 100% on visitors and donations to operate the zoo, so every single penny counts. At 106 years old, you can imagine we have an aging infrastructure. So what is important for us from a partnership with CPS is reliable power. It obviously allows us to operate. Our life support systems depend on this reliable power and allows our species to remain healthy. Many of the animals in our care are endangered or even extinct in the wild. We appreciate affordability. It allows us to dedicate more funds to our mission. I would like to see us grow this relationship as partners, and together we can help educate the community on the impact of energy use, the importance of energy conservation, and all that CPS is doing to benefit our planet. I'd like to wrap up by thanking CPS and each of you for your assistance during COVID, allowing us to defer payments. This allowed us to focus on animal care, conservation programs, and our staff. As an organization, we are surviving COVID thanks to the community donating to our recovery, partnerships like the one we have with CPS, as well as the creativity, drive, and passion of our team to find ways to avoid our own extinction. We have lofty goals for improvements and expansion, and will need the help of CPS to achieve these goals on behalf of our community. Again, thank you for the time I was allowed to speak to you and for all the staff that has assisted San Antonio Zoo.
Our next speaker is Martin Gutierrez, followed by Kimberly Britton. Martin, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Martin Gutierrez, Director of Policy and Business Advocacy for the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank the CPS Energy Board of Trustees for their opportunity to provide public comment today. I am here today on behalf of the Hispanic Chamber Board of Directors and the over 900 small, local, and minority-owned businesses that we represent to express our support for CPS Energy. A few weeks ago, the Hispanic Chamber hosted a virtual State of Our Utilities town hall discussion in partnership with our chamber friends. Polling from the town hall shows that among our community's top concerns when it comes to utilities is affordability. For our more than 900 small, local, minority-owned businesses, affordability is a top priority for them as they run their daily operations and look to increase their bottom line. CPS Energy provides our small businesses with affordable, reliable energy to operate and effectively run their business. In fact, CPS Energy offers some of the lowest rates among top 10 largest U.S. cities in the country. In addition, CPS Energy has not had a rate increase in over 6 years. CPS Energy is continuously at the top of its class when it comes to affordability and reliability, and this can be attributed to the leadership of the CPS Energy CEO and Board of Trustees. The pandemic hasn't made running a small business any easier. We know the challenges the pandemic has brought to our small business community, and we are still in the thick of it. Our small business community is hurting. On behalf of our more than 900 small, local, and minority-owned businesses, I want to thank CPS Energy for providing our members with affordable and reliable energy during these challenging times. To keep our small businesses open, to keep our energy bills affordable, we must make sure CPS Energy has the tools and structure it needs without being politicized. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Britton, followed by Greg Harmon. Kimberly, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair Steen and trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to address you this evening. I'm Kimberly Britton, CEO of Epicenter, and I reside in San Antonio, Texas. As I'm sure you recall, Epicenter is an energy innovation organization born out of the vision of CPS Energy and its new energy economy partners. Since our founding in 2015, we have grown our energy incubator and accelerator, our thought leadership events, and other programming now attract stakeholders and clients not only here in San Antonio, but across the U.S. and beyond. I'm here this evening to speak regarding CPS Energy's Flex Power Bundle initiative. In the development of CPS Energy's plan to replace its aging infrastructure with more zero-emission resources, I appreciate the thoughtful consideration and determination, frankly, to embrace emerging and cutting-edge technologies while still ensuring safe, reliable, and affordable power for its customers like me. As an active participant in the transformation of the energy sector, Epicenter gets to foster and help to operationalize many of these exciting technologies and business models. On the other hand, my team and I are acutely aware of the limitations these phenomenal inventions and systems can have, and appreciate more than ever the balance of the Flex Power Bundle mindset. Make room for the new and game-changing while ensuring our lights will come on each time we flip that switch, and that we can afford the cost of doing so. I applaud the Board of Trustees and leadership of CPS for their deft balancing of providing safe, reliable, and affordable power with the need to pursue creative and innovative projects that lead us to zero emissions. I encourage the continuation and expansion of this good work, and I look forward and very excited to see the results of the upcoming RFP. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Greg Harmon, followed by Timothy Heinley. Greg, go ahead.
Yes, I'm deeply concerned about what I heard at this morning's CPS board meeting. Prior to voting to delay an energy conservation and home weatherization program, one with huge COVID recovery potential, able to reduce bills, keep people in their homes, and create jobs, a board member asked Paula Gold-Williams if she had spoken with the Sierra Club on this. She erroneously said that staff had reached out, quote, on multiple occasions, and that we had repeatedly refused. In fact, the recommendations by Optimal Energy for the Flex Step program were delivered in the spring to zero response. This is how community organizations are routinely treated and why there is now a petition to move the governance from the board to the city council. Paula claims that this petition will cause ratepayers' bills to skyrocket. There is nothing behind this statement. CPS has refused for years to provide any assumptions about the cost of an early retirement of coal power. They refused to provide this data to members of the Climate Action Plan while that plan was being developed and to community members since the CAP adoption in 2019. It was the Sierra Club again that twice paid for third-party studies on the impact of coal power, and both times we saw that our coal plant, one of the last built in the U.S. for good reason, is an economic loser. She warns today that walking away is not an option, but there is no better response to the alternative of losing tens of millions of dollars a year that these coal purchases represent. And while Paula talks about extending the pause on disconnects, it has been under her watch that disconnections for non-payment by the poorest San Antonio residents have spiked. She has doubled the number of cutoffs over the previous two CEOs. Another report delivered to zero response came from 24 community organizations. Delivered in October, one case of a canceled meeting. It came after Paula's drumbeat of smearing climate advocates, though again, on this call, she has said that it's inappropriate for her to do so. In fact, we are the ones bringing the data and working for a good transition for San Antonio.
Our next speaker is Timothy Heinley, followed by Darby Riley. Timothy, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Steen, for the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees and the executive team. My name is Timothy Heinley. I'm Vice President of Business Development for OCI Solar Power, and I'm a CPS customer here in San Antonio. I'd like to acknowledge the successful collaboration between OCI Solar Power and CPS Energy, which has made CPS a leader in utility-scale solar, has brought new investment and new jobs to San Antonio, and has created what's called the new energy economy. I'm participating today to speak in support of CPS Energy's Flexible Path and Flex Power Bundle RFP. The Flexible Path is a well-designed strategy. We at OCI agree with CPS's CEO, Paula's characterization that the strategy balances the new with the tried and true. We understand that renewable energy resources such as solar power are intermittent and need to be firmed up, whether that's with new battery projects, existing natural gas-fired power plants, or some other technology. So let's get to it. The Flex Power Bundle RFP. Such a well-designed strategy deserves a well-implemented RFP. We strongly believe that clean energy is price competitive with fossil fuel energy resources, and the Flex Power Bundle RFP will prove that to be true. We have one suggestion for the RFP, and that is, in short, accelerate the timelines for new solar contracts. As of right now, CPS is anticipating 3 months. Well, I'll stop there. We support CPS Energy's flexible strategy, flexible path, and the Flex Fund.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Darby Riley, followed by Isabel Brasino. Darby, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Darby Riley. I'm a local attorney, a CPS customer, and a longtime member of the Environmental Stakeholders Group, which meets regularly with CPS. The Chamber of Commerce wants to keep the rate structure as it is because it favors big users who get a lower rate than small users. This is a policy decision which elected officials should make. CPS Energy represents the Chamber of Commerce more than it represents the citizens of San Antonio, its owner. In a time of the climate crisis and severe economic problems, the elected officials of the city need to take charge of energy policy and fiscal policy. The members or the officials of CPS Energy should not be making these important policy decisions. An argument against the City Council making these policy decisions is that they don't have the utility expertise. The current unelected CPS board consists of an attorney, a real estate executive, a cybersecurity executive, and an educator. They do not have utility expertise. Another argument is that if the City Council becomes the board, it would hurt the bond rating of the city's wholly owned utility. This has not been the case with Austin Energy, which has as good a bond rating as CPS Energy, even though the City Council is the board. CPS Energy refuses to accept a 10-year window to close the coal plants, even though they are the biggest polluters in this region. This is the critical decade for cities around the world to substantially reduce their fossil fuel emissions. We also have a serious problem with asthma and air quality in San Antonio. This demands action from elected officials. San Antonio is number 2 in the country in energy use per capita. Only Phoenix uses more energy per person. Efficiency should be our number 1 source of energy, but the government.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. The next speaker is Isabel Brasino, followed by Alan Montemayor. Isabel, go ahead, please.
Hi, Board of Trustees. I'm Isabella Braseno, a campus organizer with Texas Rising, and I live in San Antonio, Texas. I'm here today to urge you to close the Spruce coal plant by 2030, among many other items. Coming out of a summer of San Antonians ready to hold our city accountable for acts of racial injustice, the Spruce coal plant is another item on a long list of things we need to do better on. The plant itself is an environmental atrocity. The emissions from the spruce coal plant contribute to respiratory illness and infection. And asthma is the most prevalent chronic disease in San Antonio among children. What price can you put on that? The many schools and residences within its radius should not have to suffer, especially when relying on renewable energy and storage alternatives could save over $1 billion. Worse than the baseline level of pollution that the plant represents, it is in a community that is 80% non-white. The Black and Latino population on average bear a pollution burden of 56% and 63% excess exposure, respectively. This means that those of us who pollute the least don't only have to pay higher rates, but the public that the city public service board is meant to serve that needs the most help is also taking the largest environmental hit. Closing the spruce coal plant by 2030 is only one step of a bigger picture that results in a better San Antonio to live in. And yet you'd still have yet to promise to do this. This is part of why I've chosen to join the effort to recall CPS Energy as it is currently governed. As alluded to, the more energy one uses, the less they have to pay. I'm not sure the people that live here care why larger polluters are given breaks. This exploits regular customers and is yet another issue that the public has had little say on. This is why we need a board that the public elects and a citizens advisory committee with public meetings. It shouldn't take us taking the time out of both our morning and evening to try and get through. Giving opportunities to speak doesn't mean you're listening to us, but I'm glad to hear you're always trying to do better because we're handing you so many ways to do that. Thank you for taking my recommendations into consideration.
Our next speaker is Alan Montemayor, followed by David Pope and Bella Nieto. If you are on the line, please press 0 to make your comment. Alan, you're up.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Alan Montemayor, lifetime San Antonio resident. I ask that you move forward with the Rate Advisory Committee formation and that you make that a transparent and very citizen-involved committee that can also make decisions on what generation sources are used. I ask that you move forward on solar, wind, storage, community solar. Move forward quickly on these. I think that they are critical for jobs in our community and will keep us with a clean, breathing environment. I ask that you organize the data on the coal plant closure by 2030 and have an open dialogue with the environmental groups, particularly the Sierra Club, as such that you can move towards a plan for closing that coal plant by 2030 on a sound environmental data and sound fiscal data as well. We know the bottom line is important, but we also need to move forward with this closure. I ask that you have better cooperation with SAWS, your biggest customer, particularly in the area of getting them access to your network to do automatic meter reading for them, and also to put the large solar array out at the H2 Oaks facility. I ask that you move forward on electric vehicle fleets for CPS, SAWS, City, and other groups around San Antonio, and that you move away from natural gas incentives immediately. Move more towards electricity and clean electricity at that. Lastly, I ask that you consider more than the bottom line in all of your deliberations about these decisions. Pursuant to that, one of your board members, Ed Kelly, has been really impossible to move forward on many different elements that we've been asking for. He really is bottom line oriented. I ask that he resign immediately. Thank you for your service, and I ask that you resign for the betterment of the board. Thank you.
Our next speaker is David Pope, followed by Diana Rath. And for the second time, Bella Nieto. If you would like to make your comment, please press 0. David, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is David Pope. I am Regional President for Texas Capital Bank, and I am commenting tonight as the 2020 Chairman of the North San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber represents over 1,000 member businesses in the city who rely on CPS to provide a reliable and consistent source of electrical energy to keep their businesses open and their employees working. As a business that is owned by the community of San Antonio and its outlying areas, CPS manages our energy assets based upon reliability, affordability, and environmental responsibility while still being financially accountable to us, its customers. CPS leads as an innovator in the safe and secure reduction of climate emissions and development of renewable energy production, and utility companies from around the world look to CPS as a model of ingenuity, reliability, and customer service. If we have not any issues with the way that CPS is run today, and we're not paying astronomical rates, our chamber members ask the question, why are we entertaining any challenge to our municipally owned utility? Thank you for your time tonight.
Our next speaker will be Diane Rath, followed by Dr. Meredith Mcguire. Diane?
Good evening, members of the board. I very much appreciate this opportunity to speak. The Alamo Area Council of Governments is the lead agency on air quality issues in our 13-county region, and I very much appreciate the partnership with CPS and their commitment to improving air quality in this region. I think that's demonstrated by the early closing of the Dealey plant, even though it cost significant financial resources and made less electricity to this region. That went a long way to improving our air in the region. CPS's commitment to diversified sources of power is also extremely important in improving our air quality. Previously, the prime source of emissions in our region was the automobile. At this point, it is evolving so that point source, which is cement plants and power plants, are the prime source of emissions. So it's very important that we work collaboratively and in partnership to ensure we have very financially attractive electric rates, but at the same time maintaining that commitment to cleaner air. ACOG has 13 counties and over 70 members with a very active air quality committee in all 13 counties. The commitment from CPS to support the activities in the regions that use CPS is very significant. I also appreciate the support that we receive in disseminating information on funding that's available through TCEQ to help different types of employers, businesses, individuals, schools have cleaner engines, cleaner emissions, access better technology so they can improve their resources and decrease the emissions. So thank you very much. We appreciate the partnership.
Our next speaker is Meredith Mcguire, followed by John Huffaker. Meredith, go ahead.
Hello, I am Dr. Meredith Mcguire, co-chair of the Conservation Committee of our local Sierra Club. CPS Energy's business model is woefully out of date, and the rate structure used for decades is preventing CPS from becoming the kind of nimble and truly flexible utility that makes a rapid transition to 21st century solutions. The key to that transition is maximizing energy efficiency throughout the city and promoting extensive local business and residential investment in distributed energy resources, including on-site solar and battery storage. CPS Energy should adopt some of the excellent alternative rate structures that promote precisely the kinds of energy efficiency, development of extensive distributed energy resources, and energy demand management. CPS Energy must make major changes to its rate structure so you can incent the heaviest users in the commercial class to invest in energy efficiency measures and distributed energy resources as well. You're doing a disservice to the city for keeping that terrible and inequitable rate structure, which is the declining rate structure that CPS Energy uses rather than the inclining tiered rates that Austin uses. San Antonio needs its businesses to be forward-looking, investing in businesses, buildings, and equipment that will strengthen our ability to be resilient in the face of climate change. It's very important that CPS gets fast track on the better kind of a rate structure. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Huffaker, followed by Lexi Garcia. John, go ahead, please.
Chairman Steen and CPS Board of Trustees and CPS Executive Team, my name is John Huffaker. I'm the Regional Service and Delivery Executive based here in San Antonio, and I'm a CPS customer as well. For almost 10 years now, CPS and Itron have worked together in a partnership to bring automatic meter infrastructure and distribution automated benefits to San Antonio. And the result of these programs has been to improve CPS operating efficiency, to reduce operational costs, and to create a mesh network that can support electric, gas, water meters, as well as city streetlights and smart city devices functionality. And like all relationships, it's evolved over time. We built on our successes, and we're now engaged with SAWS and with the City of San Antonio to maximize the value of the investment that has been made in the CPS network. It's an exciting time to bring new products and services to the market and to be introduced, particularly into San Antonio. And the opportunities include areas such as load control features, environmental sensors, methane detection indoors, street lights that can be turned on and off or dimmed, increasing safety for gas customers with gas meters that can be shut off, water valve monitoring, noise level monitoring, smart parking. And the most exciting part is that this technology is always evolving, and there's more and more features being added. We have a strong education program that's been designed with CPS and a strong group of technical and professionals here in San Antonio as well. CPS's flexible path means that CPS and the city can continue to look for ways to reduce costs, to become more efficient, and to bring a range of benefits to San Antonio. And Itron is proud to be a partner. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lexi Garcia, followed by Dr. Femi Asadeli. Lexi, go ahead.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Lexi Garcia. I'm a ratepayer in San Antonio, member of District 9, an organizer with Texas Rising, and a member of the Recall CPS Coalition. Today is my first time addressing CPS, and I wondered if this was a lack of being engaged, but after it being pointed out that my public utility company hasn't had an input session such as this one since February of 2019, and going through the sign-up process, I realized it's not a lack of engagement, but a purposefully inconvenient way to get my 2 minutes of comment heard. This illustrates the approach this board applies to all other aspects of running this public good. There's not actual intent behind the people first philosophy. There's no analysis that uplifts the serious issue of inequity in decision-making on both economic and racial fronts. These are some of the main issues I've heard in conversations from members of the community in collecting signatures to recall CPS. Many don't even realize CPS is a publicly owned utility. This is a major failure on the part of CPS, showing that your board structure functions more like a corporation. The ratepayers of San Antonio deserve more. We deserve fair rates, meaning higher users pay more, as well as breathable air and a transparent democratic say in our energy source. The urgency in my demands is supported by looking around. We're in a climate crisis, health crisis, and economic collapse. Closing the Spruce coal plant by 2030 is crucial to achieving the goals of the Climate Action Plan. It is poisoning our air and warming our earth, all while not even being profitable, which is something that you very much value. There are other solutions. Closure and transitioning to an energy source we collectively decide on could at least marginally slow the damage that your inaction has already done. Unfortunately, the expertise doesn't exist within your structure, so the only way forward is to recall and have council oversee our public utility. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Femi Asideli, followed by Jolene Garcia. Femi, go ahead.
Good evening, board members. I'm Dr. Femi Asideli, a local consultant, and I also served as co-chair on our city's Climate Action Plan Steering Committee. Today I'm speaking as a CPS Energy customer. My comments center on the public partnerships between CPS Energy and two of San Antonio's finest utilities, namely SAWS and Waive. These partnerships are models worthy of celebration. First, I celebrate the advanced metering infrastructure project as an excellent example of the water energy nexus This partnership between CPS Energy and SOURCE leverages CPS's existing data communications network to collect and transmit customer water meter data. Through operational savings and demand reductions, the AMI partnership provides a potential net benefit of $56 million to SOURCE over 20 years. And next, I celebrate the renewable natural gas project, which partners CPS Energy with VIA in delivering locally sourced natural gas as fuel for VIA's bus fleet. Under the RNG project, our residential and commercial waste, now stored in landfills, will generate biogas for processing and delivery to VIA's compressed natural gas fueling stations. This would significantly reduce operational losses from long-distance transmission of alternative gas supplies. Through the sale of certified renewable fuel credits, the RNG project also gives VIA a potential revenue of more than $500,000 annually. Beyond the aforementioned financial benefits, the AMI and RNG partnerships advance CPS Energy's guiding pillar of environmental responsibility and its commitments to innovation and community engagement. Indeed, these partnerships make San Antonio the envy of cities across Texas and the entire nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jolene Garcia, followed by Joe Zhu. Jolene, go ahead.
Hello, this is Jolene Garcia. We've learned from this pandemic that our economy doesn't work for thousands and thousands of average working families in San Antonio. We're essential workers who don't earn an essential wage. We're workers who lost our jobs during the pandemic. And there are many mothers, like myself, doing the unpaid labor of staying at home and caring for the kids and their education. And so when CPS Energy quotes from credit rating agencies to justify their continued lack of a strong public process or their business model, and then when businesses after businesses, especially businessmen, speak up to adulate and thank you for helping their business model, but the retired folks, the working families, the students, the environmentalists are sending you a message that your business model doesn't work for us. And I feel, and I urge you to begin taking note. Furthermore, consider the contrast in the voices that you hear at today's public input session. And it's a strong indicator that you need to listen to certain voices that you haven't been listening to before. And you need to not be so quick to turn to the business community, the chambers of commerce, and et cetera. The community input process that you have currently with the CAC, unfortunately, they serve in an advisory capacity. And the decision-making structure that you have is outdated. It does not reflect the best practices that we now know about creating a democratic process to create good decisions that benefit our community. So we need for you to mold policy alongside, especially Black and Latino families, which are the most impacted in our community. And so I urge you to take seriously what we are saying.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Joe Zhu, followed by Philip Cabrera. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you to the Board of Trustees, Paula, and the rest of the team for having me at this venue. My name is Joe Zhu, the CEO at Quidnet Energy. We've been actually working in the region for some time in consultation with CPS to develop a geologic storage resource for storing energy as pressurized water underground at very low cost. What I hope to comment on today is first express our excitement and support for the Flexible Path and the Flex Funnel initiative underway, and also provide an update of our work with CPS in the region. For context, the largest form of storage that's done in the world today for grids is you pump water up a hill and you let it come back down through turbines to regenerate the electricity. Unfortunately, that is not available to CPS due to a lack of mountains with sufficient elevation in the region. So what we do at Quidnet is instead of pumping water up the hill to store the energy, we pump water down underground to store it under pressure instead. The civil scope is much simpler, and therefore the cost profile is much lower for this form of storage. And it's built with very mature industrial components with supply chains that's native to the region and native to the state. It's really a marriage at the end of the day between pumped hydro storage and the oil and gas industry. We're based in Texas. The team is a combination of oil and gas operators and power project developers, and we're working with the Department of Energy to develop this resource in key markets, including CPS. With the help of the Epicenter team, we've been able to get started with CPS in a partnership to look at this resource, and much similar to how you would try to measure the wind speed in a given region before you develop the wind project. We're actually in an active test well to validate the geologic storage resource to look at the storage pressure and the hydraulics and so on. And currently we're able to see storage pressures that's comparable to the largest pump storage facilities in the country. And we certainly appreciate this opportunity to speak at this venue. I think the Flex Bundle Initiative is an important catalyst to this market, and we look forward to supporting CPS's flexible path.
Our next speaker is Philip Cabrera, followed by Russell Seal. Philip, go ahead.
Hello, this is Phil Cabrera. I live in District 8. I was one of the people who petitioned for the recall CPS because I really do believe in that directive. I believe that we really should replace the current Board of Trustees with the City Council, because what we need in this city is democratic energy, or energy that's really geared more towards democracy. If we're going to have a public utility, it should be ran by the public. There should be real input when it comes to the community and rates, because right now the rate system isn't fair. It's ridiculous that we have the same rate system as a company like HEB when their usage is way higher than the average person, the average San Antonian. And the fact of the matter is this isn't a partisan issue. When I was petitioning on Election Day, there are plenty of Republicans who agreed that this Board of Trustees should be replaced by the City Council and that the mayor should be really at the head of it, because, like I said, this is a public utility that should be ran by the public, and the community should have the opportunity to replace that, whoever is in the council for that reason, to have that accountability. That's what the city needs. So I've had Trumpers sign off on this petition. I've had Democrats sign off on this petition, the progressives, people who are moderate. It really didn't matter, because all in all, this is the community, and they all agree that they have a say in what they pay for utility. It's kind of interesting to see how many people from CPS are speaking, seemingly more than actual members, or regular ratepayers, your average customer for CPS. But you know what? I appreciate this opportunity that you gave me, and it was nice to speak with you all. So thanks. That's pretty much all.
Our next speaker is Russell Seal, followed by Jack Finger. Russell, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Board. And my name is Russell Seal, and I'm a former leader of the environmental stakeholders, and I am a pharmacist, and who has previously worked pandemics in the H1N1 and gave thousands of vaccinations. Dr. Mackey, tonight I am speaking directly to you as an educator. I previously talked to the board about ventilations in schools and how Flex Step, which can contribute to helping us during the pandemic and taking a leadership and getting hold of the pandemic. We have this one, the vaccine is coming along, but we will have future pandemics, and it is not health or the environment, it is health and the environment. We have to get our buildings in shape to get greater ventilations. This has been talked about in the debate by President-elect Biden. This is something CPS Energy must take a leadership role in locally. You have the expertise to reach out. I previously asked you to read the Buildings Healthy Buildings. Hopefully you all read it by now, and hopefully you all have all saw the news broadcast by April Molina concerning ventilation in schools and the state of our HVAC systems in our public school systems. And I'm sorely disappointed to hear today that the Flex Step has been postponed. This is a key component to address our energy efficiency and the health of our buildings. We have to do both. and nobody has reached back out to me after I asked y'all to reach out to me, and I've sent the information to Mr. Usper. He has not reached out or responded to it, and I'm very disappointed that this important issue has not been addressed. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jack Finger, followed by Melissa Kazin and Dennis Roberts. If you'd like to make your comment, please press 0 now.
Yes, before all the board members, this is Mr. Jack M. Finger for the record. A number of crocs, yes, crocs that have been mentioned today. Ms. Goldman-Williams said that we need to conserve our electricity and natural gas. So what happens? We conserve, our bills go down, CPS gets less revenue, and then CPS says, oh, we need to reward such conversation with a rate increase. Yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. Crock number 2, it's a fact that it costs more to use renewable energy compared with electricity generated from coal and natural gas. Consequently, all due to man-made global warming. Another big crock, because there is no evidence that man-made global warming exists. Yes, and because the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine. Yes, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense either. Crock number 3, the fact that businesses get a free ride compared to residences. The businesses do not have to economize like the residences do. Does that make any sense to anybody except maybe the business community? No, I'm sorry, I don't like that. And crock number 4, so everyone has had to economize to conserve. Has CPS reduced its force? And has Paula and other top officials reduced their six-figure salaries like other institutions have had to? Well, I'm sorry. Maybe it's time that Mr. Kelly, that if you don't want a committee, fine. But it's time that somebody fired Ms. Paula Williams and all these other people who are putting out these crazy things. No, stop it. Goodbye.
Our next speaker is Melissa Kazin, followed by Celia Baez and Dennis Roberts. If you are on the call, please press 0 if you'd like to make a call. Melissa, go ahead, please.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Kazin, Executive Vice President of Communities and Schools of San Antonio. And on behalf of Communities and Schools, I want to express our sincere gratitude to the entire CPS Energy team for the support you have shown to our students and families by putting people first. For years, CPS employees have served as mentors to our students at Lanier, Kennedy, Sam Houston, and South San High Schools. Students who traveled once a month for 4 years to the CPS offices to meet with their mentors. CPS mentors not only helped our students professionally by assisting with goal setting, resume writing, and job interviewing skills, but more importantly, providing a consistent positive role model throughout their high school years. When the pandemic hit and school buildings closed, CPS mentors maintained their commitment to our students and remained in their lives by becoming pen pals. So important during this time of uncertainty to retain that sense of routine. So we thank you for putting students first. CPS employees have historically been one of our biggest supporters of our annual Step the Bus school supply drive, last year collecting over 4,000 pounds of school supplies for students and families in need. So our families don't have to choose between buying food or buying school supplies. Thank you, CPS, for putting families first. And lastly, we thank you for your flexibility in working with our families that struggle financially under normal circumstances, who, when the pandemic hit, found themselves in an even greater and more vulnerable economic state. By leveraging donated funds with your existing assistance programs and payment plans, Communities and Schools was able to provide over $10,000 in support to families to ensure their lights, heat, and most importantly for learning, their laptops could remain charged so learning could continue. CPS, thank you for being the great community partner that you are, and we look forward at Communities and Schools to continuing our partnership for many years to come. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Celia Baez, followed by Didi Bellamares. Celia, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Celia Valles, and I am not a chairman or business executive, but a regular CPS ratepayer in San Antonio. I've been collecting petition signatures for the Recall CPS petition, and in talking to other ratepayers, I've heard stories ranging from annoyance over CEO pay to the relating of anxiety over power shutoffs, even in the summer. Connecting these stories has been the enthusiasm for change within CPS. Ratepayers want a utility company that goes beyond self-congratulating Facebook videos and actually demonstrates valuing and incorporating ratepayers' needs and input. CPS boasts being people first and having low rates, but before 2020 was disconnecting tens of thousands of customers' power yearly. And while families in one of the most economic segregated cities in the country were getting their power shut off last year, the current CEO was getting raises and bonuses and made almost $1 million. Not only this, but CPS has refused to commit to shut down the largest local polluter, the Spruce Coal Power Plant, which disproportionately affects people of color. Someone needs to explain to me how this is people first, because all I see is a public utility acting like a private company, caring more about their pockets than a family's ability to breathe clean air and pay their bill. CPS has the opportunity to change for the better of the community it serves. This looks like ending its policy of disconnection for households at or below 200% of the poverty level, creating a more robust Flex Step program, creating more equitable rate structures, creating a rate advisory committee with actual ratepayer power, and mandating energy policies that include shutting down the Spruce Coal Plant by 2030. When CPS says they are people first, I don't believe them. But rising to the occasion and meeting these demands would be a step in the right direction. That is my comment.
Our next speaker is Didi Belamares, followed by Ashton Condell. Didi, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Didi Belamares. I'm an organizer with Public Citizen, not a misguided environmentalist, as Richard Perez calls those of us working to protect our planet from the climate crisis. The last time CPS Energy held a public input session in February of 2019, at that time I had called on the utility to show the financial data so that we can move away from dirty coal. Today, once again, as I've been doing since then, I'm asking that CPS Energy be transparent with its customers and show us how closing the Spruce Coal Plant by 2030 would force a rate increase. It was good to hear today at the Board of Trustee meeting that the Rate Advisory Committee will finally be voted on, possibly in December. The environmental community has worked hard to give our recommendations to CPS Energy, although y'all have never acknowledged our recommendations. It's also disappointing to hear comments repeatedly from Board of Trustee Ed Kelly that a community-driven committee is the stupidest thing that he's ever heard of. Mr. Kelly, community involvement should never be called, as you named it, political hogwash. And I want to thank Trustee Gonzalez for recognizing the value of such a committee. Finally, I would like to express how horrified I was to read in the media in Deceleration and the Current that forced disconnections of our poorest residents by CPS have more than doubled during CEO Paula Gold-Williams' tenure. All of CPS Energy, the Board of Trustees, the city leadership, the mayor should be ashamed of that. So that's why I'm calling the utility to permanently end disconnections for our most vulnerable residents. And I'm also telling you everything that I just said are some of the reasons why.
Thank you for your participation. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Ashton Condell, followed by Steve DeVos. Ashton, go ahead.
Almost 2 weeks ago, the people of San Antonio voted for leadership at the highest level that ran a campaign based largely on believing science and following the advice of scientists. The people of San Antonio stood with our city council when they voted to adopt the city's Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, which would bring us in line with the Paris Climate Accord. However, our public utility acts as a barrier to these goals, and I'm afraid that the CPS Board of Directors has displayed a deep ideological commitment to gradualism, which ignores the dire warnings of scientists. It's an act of climate denialism and an attack on scientific consensus for any public body to suggest that we should continue to operate coal plants into the 2040s. But that's exactly what CPS plans on doing. Spruce 1 and 2 coal plants are responsible for half of the city's carbon emissions, as well as pollutants that make overwhelmingly people of color in surrounding working-class neighborhoods suffer from higher rates of respiratory illness than other parts of the city. Spruce is also costing the city hundreds of millions of dollars, money which could be saved by switching to renewables, which is not only good for our planet and our lives, but it's good for our budgets. Finally, this pandemic has helped reveal the many social weaknesses we have as a city. Back in the spring, our mayor and city council made a pledge to address these issues of inequity and come out of this pandemic stronger and ahead of where we were before. We believe that CPS has the opportunity to lead the way in this transformation, but not as it's currently structured. Why do we live in the poorest big city in the country, and yet we paid the CEO of our public utility $1 million last year, even after they disconnected a record number of people from their power? Would a truly accountable public body allow that? It's time to find out and put the public back in city public services.
Our next speaker is Steve DeVos, followed by David Walter. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Steve DeVos. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Franklin Energy here in San Antonio. Franklin Energy provides grid optimization programs that leverage next-generation energy efficiency, demand response, and distributed energy resource programs. We have served over 150 utilities nationally over the last 25 years, and currently here in San Antonio, we work in partnership with CPS Energy as part of the nationally recognized and award-winning STEP program. We've enjoyed that business relationship with CPS Energy since 2016 when we opened our office on Wurzbach Road. That partnership, along with our diverse and engaged local staff of 25, has allowed us to jointly create value and lasting impacts in all the communities that we serve. And as a result of that, we've been fortunate to help people use the world's most precious resources more efficiently. In the last few years, we've installed energy-saving measures in 30,000 single and multifamily homes. We've weatherized more than 12,000 income-qualified homes. We've provided energy efficiency education kits to over 40,000 San Antonio students. And we've also processed over 29,000 rebates for energy-saving HVAC equipment and insulation. The savings impacts realized from that activity is equivalent to the reduction of over 95,000 metric tons of CO2. As a result of that, we're excited about the city's continued role in a cleaner, flexible, and affordable future for all San Antonians. And we're voicing our support for CPS Energy's Flexible Path journey. We believe it will be a responsible yet essential service for the community. Thanks again for the opportunity to provide comments, and we wish you all a very safe rest of 2020. Thank you.
Our next speaker is David Walter, followed by Klaus Wiesergrum. David, go ahead.
Good evening, trustees, management, and the public. My name is David Walter, and I'm a citizen of San Antonio, and I currently serve as the chair of the CPS Citizens Advisory Committee. As you mentioned in your opening comments, our committee is made up of 15 members, 10 of which are appointed directly by each city council member. We meet monthly, and I'm proud to say that during this pandemic time, we've met each month during this period to address many of the challenging issues that CPS is facing this year. We are a very diverse group with backgrounds that include community health, environment, transportation, energy, architecture, public relations, and the military. In my years serving as on the committee, I have been very impressed with the committee's focused, diverse, and very candid feedback that this committee provides to CPS management. From the CEO on down through the organization, CPS is always engaged to seek feedback from the Citizens Advisory Committee as well as other community stakeholders. There are many voices and priorities that pull this utility in different directions, and CPS always seeks to listen and thoughtfully engage everyone. This is a very complex business that requires skilled, professional people to make it work. From my perspective, having engaged directly with all levels of management, The CPS team is uniquely qualified to manage this complex business through very challenging times while relentlessly focusing on serving this community. I believe CPS is a true asset that provides enormous benefit to this community, and I'm very proud of the work that the Citizens Advisory Committee does to provide feedback and a conduit from our community. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Klaus Wieserbrum. Klaus, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Klaus Weisworm. I run a 90-year-old engineering and manufacturing business, and I'm also a CPS ratepayer in my personal home. I want to thank the board and CPS for the opportunity to speak before all of you tonight. CPS is a business partner to San Antonio residents and businesses, providing 14% to the city budget. Changing the management model to one run by the City Council would potentially lead to an increased cost and diminished response time to customers and growth. CPS Energy has always been progressive and forward-thinking, having created programs to improve consumer usage, enough such that CPS Energy has been able to delay the construction of an entire energy-producing plant. Rules, rates, are a function of consumption and infrastructure utilization. Homeowners require infrastructure to be accessible 24/7, but only require it during certain periods of a time of consumption. This is not very efficient, but that is just the way that works. Businesses require infrastructure that is utilized at a maximum potential efficiency and consumption level, highly predictable, and therefore cost-effective. We have, with CPS Energy, a partner that has always been reliable and very cost-effective. They have also been very people-centric. Let's not damage this relationship. If the efficient operation of CPS Energy is lost, then the city of San Antonio will see a shortfall in its income, resulting in higher taxes to its residents. And it will cost us all more just to live our lives normally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who participated in the public input session. This concludes that portion of the agenda, and I will turn the call back over to Chair Steen.
Thank you, Ivan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'd like to express the board's sincere appreciation to everyone who took time to share comments with us this evening. We realize that we manage your community's assets, and in doing so, feedback from you is vital to the success of our organization and our community's future. As a reminder, members of the public do not have to attend a board meeting or a public input session to communicate with the board or with CPS Energy. There are several different communication channels. You can email us at feedback@cpsenergy.com, call us at 210-353-2222, or you can do it by mail to CPS Energy, Attention Public Input, 500 McCullough, San Antonio, 78215. The members of the board, if there is no additional business for today, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Mike. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
I move to adjourn the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
So we have a motion from Dr. Mackey, and I think maybe a second from Ms. Gonzalez. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So all in favor of adjourning this meeting, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.